Hello, hello. I am so happy to be here. Welcome to my new workshop. It is called Move for More, Neuro-Play to Prevent Delay. That's the title. There's a lot that kind of goes into that, but we're focusing on in this short workshop and how to prevent delays, for your infant, how to um, know what to do when you're hanging out with them and not feel worried or insecure or unsure about what they need. Are they doing it right? Are you doing it right? Are they missing something? Also, it's for, if you're a nanny, a caregiver, you want to give the best, right? You want to be looked at like someone they can count on. And this is a piece that's missing for a lot of people. A lot of the trainings out there don't talk about mobility and promoting movements and how to move an infant. And I understand why that is. It's a pretty specialty of a field, and all the things that comes with mobility is just so amazing. But it's something that you have to be focused on, and you have to have experienced. And then you're like, oh yeah, and like kind of now I know what that looks like. If someone, a mom or a caregiver hasn't really experienced what it looks like if there's a mobility issue or there's an impairment in some area, it's kind of like, what are you talking about? What's the big deal? Um, and so that's one of the reasons I'm doing this workshop. I want to address this area that gets left out a lot. So Neuro-Play is what we're going to talk about. We're going to have three different areas that we're going to address. So this is what you can expect to learn about today. 4 signs that mobility or development is limited. So we're not going to go into all of them. I tend to want to share everything, but then it's hard to take it and use it practically right away if there's too much. So 4 signs that mobility or development can be delayed. When I say that, it does not mean they're going to have a diagnosis. That's why we're here. That's my passion. That's my mission, is to prevent as many babies from going into that track as possible. The track of getting a diagnosis, having an impairment, going to the specialist, getting on the waiting list, all those things that were from the world that I lived in. That's my career. So if you're new to me, a little bit about me. My name is Elizabeth Agripedes, and I am a pediatric physical therapist. I have been for about 20 years now, which is crazy, and worked in many different settings from every age, every every part of the journey of that a child and a family would go through when they have a challenge, a limitation, a diagnosis, a disability, a special need, where every part of that journey that that family and child will go through, I have been a part of at some time, including the educational system in schools and part of the we call them the ARD meetings, ARD, and inclusion in the classroom, and there's a lot that goes into that. And so why I'm here teaching online is to, like I said a little bit, to change the track. So if you take a 2-month-old, 3-month-old, 4-month-old baby, like all those babies that I saw in clinics and hospitals and schools, and we backed it up to their 2, 3, 4 month, even all the way through the first year, but back it up to that time and look and see, where was there a movement pattern that wasn't great, that wasn't efficient, that wasn't symmetrical? Where is it? And it can be with the eyes, it can be with the mouth, it can be with the trunk, it can be, but if we go back and you see it, and you know what to see, and you're like, hey, I wonder, it's not like oh, this child, no one has, well, not that I know of, ability to see the future. This child is going to be, significantly challenged and disabled, and this child is going to end up in this track of life. But what you can do is you can see this is not great. And why would I want to leave it there if it could cause problems? If this does mean something. Okay, so if there is a baby who's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months old, and they don't have any of these problems, they don't have a weird movement pattern and you don't see anything, and you still carry out the Neuro-Play, the play with purpose, the movement techniques, that baby is going to benefit 100 times fold anyway, even if there was nothing that was, let's say, blocked in the brain, there was nothing disconnected, there was nothing that was not going to connect and function right. If there is, it's going to get addressed and it can get connected. It can get unblocked. It can get, like a light bulb goes off. And that will change the trajectory of that baby's life from that point on. So you're on I use the example of Space Mountain in Disney, because what we're on, when you have a baby, and you're going down the path. I mean, you don't know where you're going, right? But it's like, okay, I can see a little bit ahead, a little bit ahead. What happens when there's a challenge, we're going to also talk about causes, okay? So when there's something, you get put on a different track. It's like the gate separating the train track just drops, and you get derailed to a completely different direction. And it's like you jumped on Space Mountain because you can't see. You're in the dark, and you're spinning, and you're turning, and you're flipping, and all of a sudden you're on this track of doctors and neurologists and wait lists and worry and fear. And so if you are a caregiver and this is not your child, I want you to think of this as the amazing impact and empowerment you can give to these families and babies if you are able to see these things and tell them what you see. Okay, so what else was I going to say? I'm also was a PE teacher for elementary school and for adaptive PE teacher for children with special needs. So all of those things together, an educator, and I specialize in neuro treatment for children. So we call it NDT, and being able to communicate with the brain through the body. So that's been my training for years, and so I'm pulling it together. So let's get started here. 3 things. So the 4 signs, mobility and development is limited. The 4 causes, 4 of the possible causes, right, of this. And then we're going to do a 4-step process of movement to connect and correct. And like I said, this can be done for babies who you don't see any issues because they're still going to benefit. Sometimes they're basic movements, but sometimes they're not. All right, so I want to let me start here. We're going to start with 4 signs that mobility is limited. Okay. I want you to just go with me here, and then we will dive into each a little bit deeper. I hesitate to give too much information in this one workshop because I want you to have a takeaway to be able to go today or tomorrow, whenever you watch it, to your family, which is either your own baby or your career, who you work with, and immediately be able to implement. So I'm gonna just list the 4 signs, and then we're gonna list the 4 causes, and then I'll give more detail when I go to the process to connect, okay? I also want to mention, just so this is for you, I think I also said a mom and a caregiver, but also if you had a premature baby, spent time in the NICU, or even a baby who was a multiple, because all of those things can can lead a little bit higher predisposition, higher possibility of having a challenge that if it was seen at 2 months, I mean, it's just could change everything. So I like to say one of the things signs of mobility or development can be limited is asymmetry. So in a baby, it should be symmetrical. Movements should be symmetrical. We call it a handedness pattern when they choose what hand they're going to use. That doesn't firmly take root finally until age 5. So as a baby, it should not be, oh, they're rolling right only because they're going to be right-handed or any of those kind of things. Do you want, that's the first big one. Symmetry is what we want. So a sign is, you see is asymmetry, right? So when I'm going to say at different ages, we have to talk about the developmental milestones because a 2-month-old is not supposed to roll from their back to their belly on both sides, but a 6-month-old should, okay? So at 2 months, some asymmetries that you would see, okay? And I'm just picking some of the ages and we can move forward, later. Is one arm can always be stuck backwards. One arm can be kind of stuck. And when I say stuck, it's not that it doesn't move at all. It's kind of when you hold the baby, the one in the marker's right. The one arm that's behind is normal that you'd see it behind, okay? But what I see is when the baby's doing other things, sorry, that arm is still behind. So you have to look for this specifically. It's not something that like jumps out. And like I said, this is one sign. One sign doesn't equal special needs. Okay, please get that. One arm being stuck back and being tighter. So that would be tightness. A lot of times it'll look like this. The shoulders up, the arms kind of bent, right? So this one will do most of the work, playing, right? This one will be kind of not used as much, out of the picture. So that is obviously a sign that mobility is going to be limited. The thing with that is it can affect the trunk as well, and it can affect the hip as well. They're all connected. That's another thing I think with educators, professionals, they don't always teach or believe. I don't know if they know. Even therapists that I've helped educate, therapists don't always. It seems so intuitive to me. Of course, everything's connected. That's obvious. Don't always view it that way. So I want you to know everything is connected. Another thing with the arms is that when they're in tummy time, they always have the Superman with the arms backwards and they're trying to pop up. That's a perfectly fine playing position. You'll see some kids do that. It doesn't mean that's a huge problem, but you're going to see that's kind of their go-to. That's all they have. Then that is a mobility limitation that is going to cause other difficulties. So I'm going to say in the same, because we're talking about arms, is that both arms so you'll see that when I pick something, it's usually if you see it regularly or that's their only pattern that they can use. You don't want there to be a limitation, okay? Just remember symmetry. Number 2. Now, this is going to differ for different ages. It's rolling one way only or not at all by 6 months, okay? So babies, when they learn to roll very young, they learn one direction, okay? They only roll one way. They should quickly learn to roll the other way. So If they're not, that should be something that is being facilitated, shown, played. It should be definitely in your repertoire of things you're gonna do. So a 2-month-old is only gonna roll from you on their side to their back. That's the only thing that they're supposed to do, okay? But as you move forward, a 4-month-old should do a lot of different things. So at 4 months, if I'm ever with a baby, I'm rolling them both ways. Rolling them both ways. We'll get into that a little bit. So I'm gonna put if there's a 6-month-old who can sit and can't roll, that is a problem. Okay, it's not great. I see it a lot online, so I know what happens. And a lot of the parents are saying, what if? What if my baby can sit and not roll? I say they need to roll. You need to put it back on the floor and they need to roll. That causes some difficulties and challenges, and it's not always easy because the baby's already skipped it. The baby wants to do more exciting things, but you're limiting. There's gonna be limitations. There's gonna be connections that are not made. One thing I say when I teach is decreased mobility equals decreased brain activity. Decreased mobility equals decreased brain activity. Oh, and I wanted to mention at the beginning, I am going to send you a guide for today with all of this stuff. So this is for interaction, but I'm going to send it to you. You're going to get kind of a guide with all of the things that we covered. All right. Number 3 in this first section is increased crying. You can see number 3 right now. Increased crying and the inability like to move and try to move and make themselves happier. So they're increased. And we don't really know. Of course, a baby has a lot of different things that, could cause crying. But if they're unable to move and get themselves out of a position, that's a sign of mobility or development can be limited. One last one, 4th one in here is decreased weight shifts and rotation. I'm going to teach that a little bit because it can get technical. I'm not going to do too much technical. If you want the technical, let me know because that's a different course. I do have a certification course, like a certificate for nannies to go through. And I also have separate options for parents for a month. But when I say for decreased weight shift and rotation. Now, this is also needed at every age, but it's more obvious and a bigger deal at 8 to 10 months. If they haven't learned it and been using it, at 8 to 10 months, it becomes very prevalent because there's a lot of things that their body's not able to do. It's not able to accommodate change, the balance reactions, they're not coming because they didn't get that early. So they're young enough that this is a great time, even if it was missed, that it can still be taught very, very quickly. Weight shifts and rotation. It's just, that's something that I do when I hold any baby. We'll work on that. Okay, so at this point, if you are watching the recording, jot down if you have any questions for that first section, right? Submit them to me and I will answer them for you. So now we're going to move into 4 causes why we can have these things, okay? 4 causes. Now remember, I'm gonna send you a guide, so don't worry, don't be stressed. I wanted you to listen today. Maybe take some notes, because when you take notes, your brain learns in a different way. When you're staring at a PowerPoint presentation, check out a little bit. Okay. Four causes. One, I'm gonna start with containers. So actually, I'm gonna say decreased opportunity. Now, decreased opportunities for the baby can mean a lot of things. Two of the things I'm gonna tell you right now are ways that their opportunities are limited, usually unintentionally, right? It's not like someone's purposefully saying, yeah, I don't really want my baby to have opportunity to excel and to participate in life and use all the skills and unblock their brain. Like, nobody does that on purpose. But it happens, and nobody really knows that they contributed to it. So now you do. If you're watching this, now you do. Opportunity means they need to be able to do those exact things, participate in life, try new movements, see new things, move their body. That's how your body learns. It learns through trial and error. So another cause here I'm going to move into is containers. Now, what I mean by that, if it's greater than 20 minutes a day, that it becomes a habit to be in something for greater than 20 minutes a day. I have a whole training on this. We can to go in more detail. Containers means car seat, bouncy seat, exerciser, swing. I'm sure I missed something. A carrier, it can be a container if the baby is like older, and they don't get the floor time and the free movement time. If they're in the carrier too much, it can actually be the same thing as you're restricted, right? You're not getting the experiences. I love baby wearing. I think it's fantastic. I used it for mine when they were little. They would fall asleep and nap on me when I would take a walk. It's great for so many things. But so containers, what you want to tell moms, and if you're a mom, you want to pay attention to how many of these things are you using per day. So it's one of those things when they say track your diet, right? All of a sudden you realize all the things you're eating you didn't really realize. It's kind of a similar thing. You're like, oh, I didn't realize I put my baby from the swing, then we were in the car, then we were this, then we were that, right? So it's very, very important to pay attention to. Sometimes babies would come to me with a huge developmental delay. They qualified for therapy and had to go through their track was changed, right? They're going long, living life, new mom, babies, all, and that thing came down. Baby had a physical and cognitive delay because they didn't have enough experience. Babies learn, the brain learns by what their experiences are. Some babies learn Spanish. That's their experience. Some babies learn Greek. Some people learn English. It's because of your experience. That's what you learned. Same for everything else. So containers should not be more than 20 minutes a day. It's usually for safety. Okay. I have a guide that you're going to receive, which is a little too much information to teach today. So I'm going to give you the guide and for what to do in awake time. It's like an awake time schedule, and it helps you to know what to do with them instead of putting them in something, because I think that happens when you don't really know what to do. And so it's not great for them, but it was unintentional on your part. Okay, number two, this one might be a big three, sorry. Sleep aids. Sleep aids. So they might aid sleep. They do not aid development. They do not aid development. Okay, so I wasn't planning on naming names But I will, so there's the snoo, but I will because I feel like it's important. The snoo, and there's the Merlin. Those are the two. Merlin, I think, I spoke with a sleep consultant whom I respect, and she uses it for a very short window of time. So if you're a mom, you might not want to invest the money in a suit that is best for your baby only for a very short period of time. It's like a transition from the swaddle to not having anything. Sometimes people use it for that. I mean, that wasn't invented when I had my children or thousands of other people had their children, so I know it can be done without it. I get it. I would recommend not to use it. That's just my own opinion. I would recommend finding another way. It's like a Band-Aid for your immediate problem, which is I want the baby to sleep and it's time to get out of their swaddle. What do I do? So it's an immediate Band-Aid, but it causes more difficulties later. Later, 10 months, 12 months, age 2, whatever, then the delays that were caused will show up. Babies don't even get diagnosed until they're a 3-year-old kid at the earliest. There are exceptions. For the most part, the percentage was very, very, very high. That's when the diagnosis come out. Okay. Number 4 is not really preventable, but it's if the baby had birth complications with birth, okay? Or if they were born early, so premature, if they were born as a multiple. Now, you can't prevent any of that from happening, right? But you can help to prevent them from ending up in a clinic with somebody like me, okay? Sometimes you can't prevent all of it, right? It's not in your abilities to prevent a neurological issue, okay? Nor was it in mine. I asked many times if I could have a magic wand to change the situation, to fix the children I was working with. Which is a little bit why I'm teaching this too, because this to me feels like the magic wand that I do have, right? Let's just back it up. So I asked for it, and maybe maybe this is my answer, right? So birth complications. So if they're premature, they're not going to have fully developed all the systems that they needed to. All the connections are not going to be made yet. They have to still be made outside of the womb, which normally they would have been made already. The sensory system is very, very, very important. You learn a lot more about this in the certificate course when you go through the training. So the sensory system controls so much. The motor and sensory movement is motor, and sensory vestibular balance, all of these things. So it is developed towards the end of gestation. So when a baby is born premature, a lot of things are not connected yet. So this is a cause, we're in the section, right, of 4 causes to the signs of mobility and delay, right? Just be aware and be proactive. So if you are a mom, you can be empowered. You don't have to be, I've heard very, very, very poor NICU experiences where you're not maybe empowered. You can be empowered. You can have a lot of impact, okay? And if you are a caregiver, you can have even more impact because you're going to be able to practice this and you're going to see multiple families. Okay, that's our second section for causes. Let me move on. Now remember, take a moment. If you are on the recording and you have me sped up, maybe you have my voice sped up, which is totally fine. Take a moment, jot down any thoughts, any questions, and we're going to go to the next section. Next time I'm gonna put thinking music on. All right, I'm gonna repeat. It's very important. This is the reason we're doing this. Decreased mobility equals decreased brain activity. Okay, now we are doing Neuro-Play to prevent delay. This is what our focus is today. Oh, that was an accidental rhyme. So now into the exciting, I think it's all exciting. 4-step process to connect, okay? Now you see it's a success at the top. It's very, this is why we do this. So 4 steps to connect, it's to give success. Every baby should have the opportunity to have the greatest, highest level of abilities that they were born with. So what we're doing is we're giving opportunities for success. They're not going to be limited by mobility challenges, which is not the only limitation, right? But that's what we're addressing. And I think it's huge because not many professionals know this stuff. So they're not going to be limited if we have anything to say about it by a mobility challenge that blocked their brain. That's what we're doing today. So I separated it into sections of the body. I would love your feedback if that was a good way to separate this information, because I think there was many ways that I could have done it. So let me know how this works for you. I've got legs. Oh, okay. I'm gonna say this real quick. I'm giving the physical right now, physical movements, mobility, like how to interact in a physical way with a baby. What you would do when you're doing this is you would combine all of the things that you already know, and there's a lot of research out there. This is also more depth and a more depth course, but what I mean by combining is you would combine singing, smiling, facial expressions, reading, talking, exaggerated, the bass. So all of those things I'm not going in today, but it doesn't mean you don't do them or they're not important. Okay, we're just pulling out the physical part. There's a lot of people, like I said, don't teach that. So I separated into 4 things: legs, trunk, arms. Let's do this. Legs. Sorry about that. We'll do number 4 in a second. Okay, so legs, I'm gonna give you 3 things. They're gonna go up. I'm gonna show you with the baby. They're gonna go up and down, up and down. They're gonna do bicycle, and we're gonna clap the feet. This is going to vary for the age of the baby. If you have a 2-month-old, you will do it intentional and slower. You will pause. I'm gonna say slower. You slow down. And you wait for a response. This is including a little bit of the cognitive training, but that's okay. I can't help myself. If they're a little older, you can do the same stuff, 6-month-old. You do it faster. You can vary the speed. If they're 8, 9, 10, up to 12, you can do it on a bed and you can be moving them really fast. Okay, it can be a little bit extra. I call it input into the body. Okay. So, first part of the legs, we're in the 4-step process to connect in the brain things that might be blocked. If they're not blocked, great, the baby's still going to benefit. If they are blocked, there's a very high percentage that you're going to unblock them. Okay, so I would use 2 hands. The baby would be laying down. I just didn't want to adjust everything, which I guess I can. You're going to take, let me do that. Okay, we are on ways to connect, 4 ways. So we're going to start with both legs. I have her sideways so you can see better. Okay, so they're going to go. This baby
is a little different. I have to hold it like this, okay? Some babies you can just hold right here from the ankles and push up, but she is a doll, so she's moving. So you push up from here, or you could do it right here. We're gonna go up and down and up and down. Now this is one. Now remember I said you're gonna combine this with sounds, with your face, with a song, with everything. But I am focusing on the physical. So up and down is one important motion. The other one, we're gonna bicycle, and you can go all the way, you can go all the way up to here and switch. You can do bicycle slow. Now, if she was older, 6 months, I might go with my song and I might pause. And what'll happen is their face will change. It's making them look at you and interact with you to do it again. It can be where you pause in the song. Okay. I'm going to, well, we're going to do arms, but I like always in every position, the arms to be up here. So always pay attention to where the arm was. Make sure it didn't get stuck underneath. Make sure it's like not forgotten about and one hand only is interacting. So if they reach for your face while you're playing, it's just important. You want both to be available. All right, so we got 2 of them. We got up. I said there'd be 3 here. Up, and we got bicycle, 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 bicycle. Now, the oh, and then clapping. I like to sing patty cake, but making the feet clap. She doesn't have enough hip rotation here. So I'm gonna bend, but normally a baby would be able to do this. Clapping the feet with a song. Patty cake, baker's man. Roll a man, roll a man, put a man in the pan. Now, eat 'em up as fast as you can. So I did it slow. If she was older, you can go faster. Now with the eat 'em up, if you feel resistance and you would go and it resistance, you don't force anything. You're doing it within the ranges that they have of movement. Okay. But I also, this is very, very, very important. You need to assess and you're paying attention because you're being so intentional because you're so amazing and you're taking this class so you can learn. So you're being intentional. So you're noticing, oh, this leg is not going up as far. Okay, let me keep going. Let me keep going. Let me keep going. This right leg didn't really go up. It's not as easy. Doesn't mean force it. It's you're noticing, okay? This, does the right leg not want to do that? Does it turn out? Does it do something different? You're noticing, okay? When you do the clapping, does the right one not turn? Does it not want to really play the activity? You're noticing. So every time you do this, you are connecting whatever is limited on this right leg. This is the coolest part of this whole thing. You don't have to be me. You don't have to have a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, a PhD. You don't have to impact this baby's brain right here. If you noticed that right leg wasn't doing things the same as the left, you get to play with this baby. That's why I call it Neuro-Play. You get to play with this baby later on, maybe like 3 more times. And when you do it, you're going to notice that right leg is going to start moving better. It's going to move better tomorrow, and it's going to move better tomorrow. If it doesn't, and you're uncomfortable, don't push it. Don't ever push it. But if you're uncomfortable, you mention to the mom. Now you have very clear information to tell her or the father, I was playing this game that I learned, Neuro-Play techniques with Elizabeth, and I noticed that her right leg doesn't want to meet the other one. It's a little bit stiff and tight. Please mention it to your pediatrician. There you go. You just First of all, you're impacting the movement of the body. You're helping to integrate the brain, and you have something very clear to tell those parents to ask their doctor about. That's how you make change. Okay. Yeah. Moving on to the arms. So we have 3 sections here: legs, trunk, and arms. All right, I'll do the trunk. So trunk was number 2. So we're gonna go up. Trunk, I want it to rotate. This is where the rotation, and I said weight shifting. We'll do weight shifting in a moment. What is wrong with me? Directionally challenged today. Rotation to the side, and you want it to make sense to the baby. So depending on their age, if you're sitting up straight like I am, their head's going to move back to you, especially if you're singing, and then it won't make sense. They're not going to get the rotation. So it's very safe. I want you to know both legs can come up and they rotate over. You can stay here in this sideline position where a lot of people don't know to play with a baby in sideline. It's very, very, very important. Right here, you're doing so many things. I could list them for you, but I won't. Because if you want to know that kind of stuff, like I said, there's a larger program. You can nerd out on all this stuff with me. And the baby, you can do a couple things. You can let them roll themselves back over. You can keep singing with the song, roll them back over, and do some of the legs. You can go the other way. So either you would have a toy that they liked on each side, or you move your face. You move your face to the side, and then it makes sense. Notice this does not have to be a half an hour of play. So like I said, I'm going to send you the awake time schedule, and you're going to see how I've recommended to incorporate these things. But now you have the next piece of, oh, what do I incorporate, right? So rotation is, you have your trunk, which is the spine, the rib cage, whatever, and it needs to rotate on the bottom. You have upper trunk and lower trunk. Let's do that for today. They need to move on each other. It's called segmented. The arms need to move on the trunk. The legs need to move on. So this exercise for our trunk, every age can do this. You vary the speed up and over. I want to like this to come over. If it doesn't, there's techniques for that. Give them a second. Make sure there's an attractive toy. Move your face. Moving it for them. This arm might be tight, but we're getting to arms next, so then you'll notice. Okay, this is the trunk. Up, over, up, over, up, over. Okay. Number 3, we are in the section of the 4-step process to connect in the brain. Okay. Physically. Number 4, arms. Same thing. We're going to do up, down, up, down. You can do them together, down, and you can say the words. So you're working on language. Remember I said combine the cognitive with the physical. I'm just not teaching that today. Up and down, up. Then you clap, clap, and patty cake again, right? Patty cake, baker's man. Now, this baby, this is a little sidebar. Like I said, I can't help myself. If she was turned over here, looking at whatever, the dog, or zoning out, because that might be a sign, right, of a problem. You don't just keep doing it to her. Like I said, it needs to make sense. So she's over here staring at the dog, and I'm patty caking. She's not really getting anything of it. So I would pause, and I would get her attention, move your face, whatever you have to do, so she is attending on your game. Otherwise, you're not connecting anything. That's why the program is called Develop, Connect, Nurture, because you want to connect by all your interactions. So we're patty caking. She's looking at me. Well, she's sleeping, but pretend that she's looking at me. And we do the baker's man. We do the roll 'em. We do the eat 'em up. So everything, go back to the first section, is symmetrical. Okay. All right. We're almost done. Hang in there with me. Jot down any notes and questions. And oh, the part of the arms that I want to mention is a full range of motion. So you want to assess, again, you want to pay attention, you want to be intentional that if you're patty caking and this arm doesn't want to come with you, you're not patty caking over here, so this arm is stuck, okay? You're gonna try to do a full patty cake here. So if this arm is a little tight, you could stop the patty cake because patty cake's a little fast. You can do some gentle arm circles if you notice. That's just one suggestion. There's many, many, many things. The other thing you can do is you can assess like you did with the legs. If you notice that, oh, that right arm didn't really move the same, notice. Now, if you were like, okay, next time I'm going to stretch it a little more, stretch it a little more, stretch it a little more. If you don't feel comfortable and it doesn't seem like it wants to do that, now you have another opportunity for clear information to give to the mom. When I was playing patty cake, because it's really good, I learned it in this Neuro-Play with Elizabeth workshop, you might want to mention to your pediatrician, okay? If you're a mom, you can mention to your pediatrician. Any of you can always reach out to me online and ask a question. Okay, let's move to the last section. Let's see, how are we? All right, last section, we'll wrap up, is sit. I wanted to do sitting as opposed to rolling to the tummy because we did the rotation, okay? Just know that this rotation, I'll do it here, can continue over to the tummy, okay? Then the arm, there's a technique here that helps get the arm out. Now, this is a test, but you can't answer me because you're watching the video maybe. Would I continue to play in this position if this arm stayed back here? So this one's up. Her head would obviously be clear because this is a doll. Would I continue to play like this? So if you answered yes, that is very wrong and I never want you to do that. So no, I would not. I would make sure that I shift her a little bit. This is a little weight shift I was going to show in a minute, and bring it up or allow her to bring it up. Then you play and do whatever you're going to do here. Okay. So the fourth step process, like I said, is going to be sitting. So I want to show you one activity in sitting because all babies are not going to stay on the floor forever. So on your lap, let's do on my lap. Okay. I want you to work on a weight shift and a rotation. Okay, a weight shift, what that means is moving from one side to the other with their, so I'm going to have her on one leg. Weight shift is like so, okay? It's very important. It comes in tummy time, it is there and on your back, it's in every position. But a way you can play with a baby is a little older, like let's go with 5 months if they have good head control, 6 months is great, and up, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You can bounce. The better the head control, the more you can bounce. So we're gonna bounce, and you want to do what I call rotation and weight shift. And they get a toy, or they high five, or they touch the dog, or they get their Cheerio, or their organic puff, or their baby-led weaning, whatever their independent thing is, okay? You want to be symmetrical. Now, there are so many things going on here with cognitive and building language and all of those things. But I want you to know, to back it down to just this physical movement. You're bouncing, you're rotating, they're reaching. A weight shift is when they're shifting weight from both sides to one side to reach and back and reach and back. Now, reaching, like I said, can be, it's better if it's functional, if it makes sense to reach, to get something, to reach, to see the puppy, to reach their mom or dad or grandma, and it becomes a game. Notice where my hands are. This is important too. They are on her belly, her trunk, her, I'll go and call it her abs. And that's where rotation and weight shift is going to initiate. So you want to bounce them. That's a little sensory. You get them in the middle and you play with rotation and with weight shift. And she is so happy. If you can't get them to sit here and you need them to face you, you can do that as well. Like this. Here. And you can turn and go down to the floor and get like a puzzle piece. Up. And up. So I'm still, you want to not initiate the back because then you're like pulling. You don't want to pull. Remember I said we don't force anything. Also, take note what you're seeing. Take note if one way she doesn't go and she cries or she throws herself or anything like that. That is some more information for you to gather. That could be in the signs that mobility is an issue. Okay, so this I think was a lot of information, but I think that it was clear. I hope it was clear, and I hope it gives you some new information that you can go right away and go try. I would love your feedback. I want to hear if you used any of the techniques, if you were more aware of, like, we'll review real quick. I want to hear if you were more aware. Did it help you? The 4 signs we went over of that mobility or development is limited, okay? And if it's limited, remember, decreased mobility equals decreased brain activity. So if you're helping mobility, you're helping the brain grow. We went over 4 signs of that. We went over 4 causes that can be. Containers, sleep aids, opportunities are decreased. So even if the baby's not in a container, if they don't have an opportunity to move, or this could even be a deeper thing with the environment is not so that in a emotional way or psychological way. If the environment is not such that the baby is being calm and they don't feel nurtured and they don't feel safe. We all have to feel safe if we're going to learn. So that's just something to file in there, that if the environment doesn't feel safe, that's another thing that can cause these kind of delays because their opportunities will be decreased. They're not going to be like, oh yeah, just file that in there. And then if there was birth complications. So the 4 signs that mobility and development can be limited, we talked about one arm being stuck back all the time. We talked about both arms only being in the Superman position. And we talked about increased crying and not really seeing another cause for that. And then the inability for them to move or try to move to make themselves happy. And then also decreased weight shifts and rotation. So now you know a little bit about what I meant by that. I did say that it happens at every age, but it's a lot smaller. So at 8 to 10 and 8 to 12, I'm going to say 8 to 10 because that weight shift and rotation, if they don't have it, that's when you're going to start seeing crawling issues. Okay. That's when you're going to start seeing the kind of wonky crawling, like all the different ways of crawling that I don't love, because to me, that demonstrates, right, a blockage. There's a reason that they're moving that way, and I don't want them to have to move that way. I want them to have all the available abilities, all the available movements, and then they can choose which ones they want to use. That is the most important thing in my experience, because you are teaching the brain. You're creating activity in the brain. You're creating connections. You're unblocking. Okay. All right, so then we talked about the 4-step process to connect. That was our last section. We did legs, we did the trunk, we did arms, and we did the sitting. Now, again, please tell me if this worked well for you. Go try it. Go try it. If you have a baby in your life, you probably do because you're here, but go try these things. Go, if you don't, go find a neighbor who has a baby and try the stuff. Get back with me. Now remember, what we're doing, this is really big stuff. We're breaking the impairment model that is out there for us. There's only one way for people right now to get this kind of help. The one way is to wait, and the impairment and the problem gets big enough that then there's something to go do about it. That is what I call the impairment model. It's how our systems are set up right now. That's the only way. There's only one way. So I'm giving another way. That's what I'm doing. If we break this model, we're preventing limitations that could be there. We're opening up opportunities. Therefore, we're changing futures. And that is what I want to partner with you, is to change futures, make them brighter, give more abilities for opening up their life. So thank you for spending this time with me today. And I look forward to hearing how you love this video, this workshop. Bye. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.